She said I was controlling for asking questions. But the Uber driver told me everything I needed to know. I never considered myself a jealous person. I wasn't the guy who checked phones or showed up unannounced. I believed in boundaries, in privacy. That's what love's supposed to be built on, right? Trust. But trust starts to rot when reality doesn't match the words you're being fed. And with Layla, things had been off for a while. We'd been together for 2 years. At first, everything was electric. Late-night drives, inside jokes, the way she'd rest her head on my chest like it was the safest place in the world. But somewhere between the wine nights and the shared playlists, things shifted. She became distant, like emotionally buffering all the time. It started small. She'd suddenly have long days at the salon, or she'd be too tired to hang out after work. Then came the weekends where she'd leave early to run errands and come back late. Her perfume freshly applied, hair redone. I noticed things, like anyone who still pays attention would. The new playlist she kept playing in the shower with love songs I'd never heard her hum before. The way she'd guard her phone screen like it held nuclear codes. So I asked, gently, not like an accusation, more like, "Hey, is everything okay with us? I've been feeling a little distant from you." And that's when the script flipped. "You're being controlling, Alex." That hit like a slap I never saw coming. Controlling? I blinked. "I'm asking if we're okay. You're suffocating me with all these questions." "I can't breathe around you anymore," she said, grabbing her bag like she needed to escape. "Every time I go out, it's like you're interrogating me. That's not healthy." I sat there, stunned, while she stormed out. I played the conversation over in my head 100 times that night. Was I being too much? Too paranoid? But then, the patterns kept adding up. One night, she said she had a girls' spa night planned and would be offline. Except, around midnight, her iPad at home buzzed with a new song added to her shared Spotify queue. A romantic track by James Blake. Not the kind of music she played with her friends. This was the kind of song you listen to with someone's arms around your waist. Another time, she claimed she was visiting her cousin across town, but I accidentally saw a push notification from the Uber app on her lock screen. The pickup address wasn't her cousin's. It was closer to the Lake District. Expensive area, all boutique hotels and weekend getaways. I didn't confront her. I wanted to. God, I wanted to rip the bandage off and ask her who the hell she thought she was fooling. But something told me that direct confrontation would just lead to more deflection. More, "You're crazy," more, "You're toxic." So instead, I waited. I watched. I started noticing the timings. Every other Thursday around 6:30 p.m., she'd book an Uber. The driver would arrive. She'd say she was going to her book club or a blowout appointment she forgot to mention. Every time she came back late. Too late for any of those things to make sense. And always in a different outfit than she left in. Always more radiant. I needed answers. Not assumptions, not anxiety, not gut feelings. Concrete answers. Last Thursday, she repeated the same pattern. Quick shower, fresh makeup, hair curled, cute black dress she hadn't worn in months. "I'm just heading to Maya's. Wine night. Don't wait up." She ordered her Uber and left with a kiss on my cheek like she was some devoted girlfriend. I waited 5 minutes. Then I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. My car was parked a few blocks down, so she wouldn't have seen it when she left. I didn't have a plan. Not really. I just needed to know where she was going. And maybe the universe was on my side that night. Or maybe she was just careless. Either way, I checked the Uber receipt notification that had pinged her iPad. Her ride was still in progress. I knew the plate. I knew the name of the driver, Rafiq. I called another Uber. Different driver. I told him to take me to the same hotel I suspected she was going to. I had no proof she'd end up there. It was a guess based on the pattern. The music, the outfits, the notifications, the lies. When I got to the hotel, one of those trendy lakeside ones with fairy lights and rooftop jacuzzis, I stood across the street. It felt insane. I felt insane. Heart pounding. Palms sweaty. Like I was doing something wrong when I was just looking for the truth. 10 minutes later, Rafiq's car pulled up. And she got out. Layla. My Layla. Except she wasn't alone. She stepped out laughing, hand on someone's shoulder. A man. Tall, tan, fit. The kind of guy who looked like he probably said bro a lot and had veneers. They didn't kiss. Not then. But the way she touched his chest, the way he guided her with a hand on her lower back, said everything I didn't want to hear. I didn't follow them in. I couldn't. Not that night. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat the next day. But I did request the same Uber ride Layla had taken, through her linked account, the one that led me to Rafiq. And then I did something even more desperate. I requested him as my next ride. When Rafiq pulled up, I recognized him immediately. Clean cut. Maybe in his mid-40s, polite face with tired eyes. He smiled at me through the rearview mirror as I climbed into the back seat. Hey man, Alex, right? I nodded. Yeah? Thanks for coming so fast. He merged back into traffic, humming along to a mellow song on the radio. For a minute, I said nothing. I just stared out the window, trying to figure out how the hell I was going to bring this up. You don't just ask a stranger if he's seen your girlfriend cheat on you. But Rafiq made it easy. Too easy. Didn't I just drive your wife or girlfriend yesterday? I froze. My throat tightened. What? I think it was her. Pretty girl. Black dress? We went out toward the lake. She was with some other guy, though. Looked like a date night or something. Hope I'm not overstepping. I blinked. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear him. No, you're not overstepping, I said quietly. That was her. And she told me she was with friends. Ah, he said with a slow nod. Sorry, man. That's rough. The car was silent for a few moments. Then Rafiq spoke again. I didn't want to assume anything, but I've picked her up a few times before. Always headed to that same hotel. It's one of those boutique places, right on the lake with all the lights. Room 214, if I'm not mistaken. Wait, room 214? He glanced at me in the mirror. Yeah, she always tells me to drop her off at the side entrance near the elevators. Says she doesn't want to go through the lobby because they're strict with visitors. Makes sense if she's meeting someone who's already checked in. My stomach turned. How many times would you say you've driven her there? Rafiq thought for a second. 4, maybe 5 times this month? Always around the same time. Thursday nights mostly. I rubbed my face, my hands shaking slightly. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I sat still, letting the full weight of everything settle on my chest like a goddamn anvil. She ever mention his name? No, he said. But he's always waiting for her by the corner of the hotel. Tall guy. Looks like he could be a trainer or something. They laugh a lot. He opens the door for her like they're married. You sure that's not her brother or something? I nearly laughed. She doesn't have a brother. Rafiq let out a long sigh. Damn. Sorry, man. People are wild these days. We rode in silence the rest of the way. But before I got out, I turned to him. Hey, thank you. Really? You have no idea what this means. He just nodded, like he'd seen this all before. I didn't sleep that night either. My chest felt like it was on fire, like every breath was heavier than it should be. But beneath the grief, beneath the betrayal, something inside me clicked. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't controlling. I was right. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to pretend to debug code while pretending my relationship wasn't a crumbling lie. Instead, I opened my laptop and booked a room at that same lakeside hotel. Room 212, right next to 214. I spent the day preparing, bought a small audio recorder, charged my phone, brought a power bank, binoculars. Yes, binoculars, like I was in some low-budget spy thriller, and even called my friend Jordan. Jordan and I had been best friends since college. He was the loud one, the kind of guy who made a scene in restaurants and got away with it because he had charm for days. But more importantly, he was loyal. When I told him what was going on, he didn't hesitate. Bro, I'm there. What time? I didn't know what exactly I was going to do. Catch them? Confront them? Record something? Part of me hoped I was wrong, even after everything. Part of me wanted to be the fool, because being the fool was better than being the guy whose girlfriend looked into his eyes every night while building a second life behind his back. The next Thursday came faster than I expected. Layla barely looked at me that morning. She kissed my cheek absent-mindedly, told me she had spa reservations and a girl's dinner, and not to wait up. I nodded. Have fun, I said. My voice didn't even shake. She left at 6:25. At 6:30, I was already parked 3 blocks from the hotel, watching the entrance through a pair of binoculars like a lunatic. At 6:43, Rafiq's Uber pulled up. At 6:44, Layla stepped out, dressed in the same navy blue dress she once wore on our first anniversary. She didn't wear that dress to girls' dinners. She wore that dress when she wanted someone to look at her like she was made of fire. And there he was, tall, tan, athletic, wearing a blazer over a black tee, like he was headed to some rooftop date. He kissed her on the cheek before taking her hand. I hit record on my phone and took a shaky breath. This was really happening. I was about to find out everything. And this time, I wouldn't be watching from the outside. I'd already checked into room 212, and I planned to be standing outside 214 when she opened that. I waited. It's incredible how slowly time moves when you're doing nothing but breathing and listening. My phone said 6:55, then 7:10, then 7:22. Every second scraped against my nerves like sandpaper. Jordan sat cross-legged on the floor beside the bed in room 212, fiddling with the recorder. You sure about this, man? He asked, glancing up. This could get messy. I nodded. I need to see it. I need to hear her say it. He sighed and leaned back against the nightstand. Just don't swing on the guy, all right? I won't, I said. I just want the truth. At 7:31, we heard the lock click in the hallway. We both froze. Then, soft laughter. Her laughter. And his voice. Lower than I expected. Casual. The way you speak when you're not worried about getting caught. My heart hammered in my chest. Room 214. Right beside us. I crept to the connecting wall and pressed my ear against it. The voices were muffled, but I could catch enough. Her saying something about the view. Him saying he brought her wine this time. Then, music. James Blake. The same exact song I'd heard on her Spotify. It wasn't a coincidence. I turned to Jordan. Ready? He gave me a tight nod. I stepped into the hallway. Room 214's door was slightly ajar. I stood there for a moment staring at it, my fist clenched. Then I knocked. At first there was silence. Then footsteps. Then her voice. Muffled, but unmistakably annoyed. Did you order room service? She swung open the door without checking the peephole. And froze. For a moment neither of us spoke. She looked like a ghost. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open, the color draining from her face like spilled paint. Behind her, he stepped into view, shirt half unbuttoned. Alex? She breathed. I didn't move. I just looked at her. Let her feel it. Who's he? The guy asked, brows furrowed. Babe, what's going on? Babe. She turned around, flustered. Just give me a second. She stepped into the hallway and shut the door behind her. I backed away, giving her space. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What the hell are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing, I said calmly. My voice surprised me. Steady, like I wasn't falling apart on the inside. This isn't what it looks like, she snapped. No? I tilted my head. Because from where I'm standing it looks exactly like you're cheating on me. You're following me now? Seriously? This is insane. You're acting like a stalker. You told me you were at the spa. Having wine with the girls. She didn't respond. Just crossed her arms like a shield. You called me controlling, I said, my voice growing colder. You made me feel like I was going crazy for asking questions, like I was suffocating you. But all I ever wanted was honesty. Her eyes darted away. I needed space. I laughed. A short, bitter sound. So you got space, and a hotel room, and a new guy. She looked down, jaw tight. It wasn't supposed to be serious. I stared at her. How long? What? How long has this been going on? She hesitated. A couple of months. You've been lying to me for months? I said. Sleeping next to me, laughing at my jokes, looking me in the eye while building a whole other relationship behind my back? It wasn't like that, she said quietly. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and pressed play. Her voice. Rafiq's voice. The details. The times. The hotel. Room 214. She went pale. You recorded my Uber driver? No, I said. You linked your account to our iPad, remember? I saw the receipts. I saw everything. I just asked questions. He answered them. That's a violation. Of what? I snapped. Your right to lie? Your right to cheat without consequences? The door behind her creaked open. The guy stepped out, arms folded, watching. You good, babe? She didn't answer. He looked at me. You the ex? Still technically the boyfriend, I muttered. At least for the next 30 seconds. I turned back to her. I'm done, I said. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to make a scene. But I needed you to see the look on my face when it hit me. I needed you to know what you threw away. Her lip trembled. You lied to someone who would have done anything for you. And the worst part? You made me feel like the bad guy. Alex, I hope he's worth it, I said quietly. Then I turned and walked away. Jordan was waiting by the elevator, arms crossed. You okay? He asked. I didn't answer. I wasn't okay. But I would be. Eventually. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. Instead, Jordan and I drove around in silence until we found a 24-hour diner. He ordered pancakes. I ordered nothing. I just stared at the laminated menu, replaying the last hour in my head on a sickening loop. She didn't even cry. That was what hit me the hardest. Not one tear. Just a blank stare, like she was already somewhere else. Or with someone else. Jordan tried to cheer me up, cracking dumb jokes, nudging me, reminding me that at least I didn't marry her. But nothing landed. I felt hollow. Like something inside me had been scooped out and replaced with static. I got home around 4 a.m. The apartment was dark and quiet. Her shoes were gone from the hallway. So were her keys, her toothbrush, her favorite mug. She moved out in one night. I almost admired the efficiency. She left behind a note. Not handwritten, not heartfelt. Just a sticky note on the fridge. I'll come for the rest of my stuff later. I'm sorry it ended like this. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just a passive exit. Like she was quitting a job she'd gotten bored of. I stared at that yellow square for a long time before crumpling it up and throwing it in the sink. The next few days blurred together. People at work noticed something was off. I told them I was tired, that I was sick. My manager offered me time off. I declined. I needed the distraction. Anything to keep me from checking my phone or rereading old texts. Layla didn't reach out. Not once. Until she did. Exactly 6 days after the hotel confrontation, I got a text. "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time before replying. "About what?" "I just need to explain. Please." Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part wanted to see her squirm. I agreed to meet. Not because I wanted closure. I just wanted to see what version of the truth she was going to try and sell me this time. We met at a cafe we used to go to in better times. She sat outside, sunglasses on, latte half finished, scrolling her phone like she hadn't just detonated my life a week ago. She looked up when I approached and gave a tight smile. "Hey." I sat down, arms crossed. "Talk." She took a breath. "I know you probably hate me. And I get it. I do. I didn't plan for this to happen. It started with one drink, then another. I felt trapped, Alex." "Trapped?" I scoffed. "You could have talked to me. Instead, you lied to me. For months." "I didn't know how," she whispered. "You always wanted to fix things. You'd ask questions. You'd make lists, plans. I felt like I was drowning in expectations. So instead of telling me, you found someone who didn't ask questions," I said bitterly. She flinched. "He listened to me. He also kissed you in hotel hallways and opened doors to rooms you told me didn't exist." She looked away. "I wanted to tell you," she muttered. "But every time I tried, you looked at me like I was still your girl. And I couldn't break that." "You already had," I said. "You just didn't have the guts to tell me." She nodded slowly. "I know." There was a long pause. Then she said, "He's not who I thought he was, by the way." I didn't respond. "He's married." That made me look up. Found out 2 days ago. His wife messaged me on Instagram. Said she tracked his location and saw our hotel check-ins. Apparently, I'm not the only one. There it was. Karma. Finally waking up from her nap. "She posted everything," Layla continued, voice smaller. "Screenshots. Pictures. Even tagged my account in one of them. I lost clients. Friends. People are calling me homewrecker online. Actions have consequences," I said coldly. "Weird, right?" She looked like she might cry. "And a month ago, I might have cared. But now, I just felt tired." "I didn't come here to punish you," I said. "I came here because I wanted to see if you were capable of admitting it. Not excusing it, just owning it." "I'm sorry, Alex. I believe you," I said. "But I'm still done." Tears welled in her eyes. "I miss you." I stood up. "No, you miss the comfort. You miss the version of me who didn't know." She looked away again. I left her there. Didn't look back. That night, I blocked her number. Deleted her from everything. And for the first time in weeks, I slept. No dreams. No restlessness. Just sleep. And when I woke up, the weight was still there. But it was lighter. Almost bearable. Healing didn't come all at once. There were days when I felt okay. Like I could laugh at work, go to the gym, enjoy a coffee without feeling like I was dragging my heart behind me. And then there were days when the smallest thing shattered me. A song. A scent. A saved voicemail I forgot to delete. She haunted me in places I didn't expect. In silence. In noise. In the gap between waking up and remembering. But the difference now was, I let it pass. I didn't fight it or bottle it up. I didn't chase closure. I had faced her, heard the words, seen the lies in her eyes. There was no more mystery. No what if. Only what was. And what was hurt like hell. But it was honest. 3 weeks after the last time I saw her, she tried again. This time, it was an email. "I don't know if you'll read this, but I can't stop thinking about us. I made mistakes. I was selfish. But what we had was real. I miss you. I miss your laugh, your stupid impressions of my cat voice, the way you always made the bed even when you were late. Please, Alex, can we at least talk? Just once?" I stared at it for a long time. The old me, the version she broke, would have replied. But the new me? I let it sit there, unopened, unread. I didn't delete it. That would have meant I still cared enough to reject her. I let it rot in the inbox. Just like she let our relationship rot while she told me I was controlling for noticing. A few days later, Jordan and I went out for drinks. I hadn't really done that since everything went down. He said I needed to re-enter society before I turned into a Reddit thread. I laughed for the first time in what felt like ages. At the bar, some girl asked me about the book I was reading. We ended up talking for hours. I didn't even get her number. It wasn't about that. But I walked home that night with this strange, unfamiliar warmth in my chest. Not love. Not yet. But something lighter, something that whispered, "You're going to be okay." Of course, Layla wasn't done. A week after the email, she sent a letter to my apartment. Handwritten. 8 pages. She wrote about everything. How it started, how it spiraled, how she hated herself for pushing me away. She said she didn't recognize herself anymore. Said she cried every night, missed me in the morning, missed the version of herself she was when she was with me. She said I was the first man who ever really saw her, that I made her feel safe, and that she broke it because she didn't know what to do with something real. That part, I believed. But the damage had already been done. I didn't reply. There was no speech, no grand forgiveness, no cinematic reunion. Just silence. And silence, I realized, was an answer all on its own. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. Then, the weirdest thing happened. I ran into Rafiq again. I was getting groceries and saw him in the parking lot, helping an old woman load bags into her trunk. I walked over, smiling. "Hey, remember me?" He looked up. "Of course. How you holding up?" "Better now," I said. "Thanks to you." He gave a warm laugh. "I didn't do much. Just drove." "No," I said. "You gave me the truth, when no one else would." He patted my shoulder. Sometimes the truth shows up in the back seat. We talked a little longer, about life, about his kids, about how strange the world is when you're actually paying attention. He told me he quit working nights, said he got tired of watching people live double lives while pretending it was nothing. I thanked him again and left with my groceries, feeling something shift inside me. Maybe healing doesn't come with big declarations or Instagram posts or sudden revelations. Maybe it comes slowly, like thawing. Maybe it comes from strangers and Ubers and friends who sit with you in silence and nights when you sleep dreamlessly. Maybe healing is just the absence of need. I didn't need Layla any, and for the first time in months, I didn't miss her either. Summer faded into fall. Leaves changed. People moved on. So did I. Not in the flashy, dramatic way Layla had. Not in hotel rooms or late-night DMS. Just slowly, organically, piece by piece. I rebuilt routines, reclaimed space, filled the silence not with noise but with peace. Some nights I still thought of her. Not with anger, but with clarity. I'd remember the way she used to laugh at my dumb impressions, or how she'd curl into me like I was home. And then I'd remember the gaslighting, the deflections, the way she said, "You're controlling," just to avoid owning her actions. That part still stung. But it didn't define me anymore. I started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I ignored my instincts for so long. Why I kept giving people space to lie instead of drawing the line when the truth first bent. Turns out, loving someone deeply doesn't make you weak, but ignoring yourself to keep them around, that's where the damage begins. A few months later, I started dating again. Carefully, slowly. Her name was Brooke. We met at a friend's birthday party. She had this sharp, dry sense of humor that caught me off guard, and the kind of eyes that made you forget what time it was. She asked about my last relationship. I told her enough to be honest, but not enough to reopen scars. "Sounds like she played a lot of games," she said. "She did," I admitted, "but I kept showing up to play. That part's on me." Brooke nodded thoughtfully. "At least you know now." Yeah, I knew. And when we talked, I noticed something. I didn't flinch when she touched her phone. I didn't overthink when she mentioned her ex. I didn't hover over questions or spin stories in my head. I asked what I needed to ask, and she answered. Simple as that. No guilt. No power games. No invisible strings. Just honesty. That's how it's supposed to be. Months passed. Then, one night, I got a DM on Instagram. I recognized the profile immediately. Layla's. She'd made a new account. Her old one was gone, probably nuked after the drama with the married guy went public. The message was short. Just wanted to say I'm happy you're doing well. You deserved better. I stared at it for a minute. No anger rose in me. No sadness. Just quiet acceptance. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. She had made her choices. So had I. I walked out onto my apartment balcony, letting the cold breeze hit my face. The city lights stretched out like a living thing. Messy, glowing, unapologetically real. And I thought back to that night in the Uber. How broken I felt. How desperate. All because I asked questions. All because I dared to listen to my gut. She told me I was controlling. That I was paranoid. That I needed to let her breathe. But the truth? I was never the problem. I wasn't controlling. I was curious. Concerned. Loving. She just wasn't ready for someone who noticed. And funny enough, it wasn't an argument or a fight or a dramatic twist that gave me the answers. It was a guy with a tired smile, a kind voice, and an Uber app. Sometimes the universe doesn't whisper. It hitches you a ride and lets a stranger hand you the truth. And from that night on, I've never looked at silence the same way again. Because the moment she stopped answering my questions, the universe answered them for me.